welcome to my January wrap-up. And when I picked out the books that I read in January, I realized I don't have a lot of them on me, actually. Some of them were arcs that I got from work and had to give back, and some I've given to friends to read. As always, all the books I mentioned will be in the description below. So yeah, I don't have the visual aids with me for most of these books. So the first book I read in January is what I talk about when I talk about running, by Murakami. As I've recently discovered, I really like non-fiction books. Never thought that would happen, but I've gotten into non-fiction and I actually started the year with quite a lot of non-fiction. And yeah, the first one was Murakami's book. And I found it really interesting. I've heard before that it isn't actually just about running and marathons, but it's also about just his life as an author and yeah, also his routine of writing. Now there wasn't as much writing in it as I'd hoped there would be, but there were some really interesting parts, and I also just really enjoyed getting a look behind the scenes and of this author that I really admire, and I really enjoy his writing style in general, just to see what his life is like and what he's like as a person. I think you get a real interesting sense of who he is and how he sees himself. So I really enjoyed it. It's also a really short book and there's some pictures in there. So yeah, I really enjoyed the book. I've now given it to my dad to read. He's done with it already and he didn't enjoy it quite as much. And now my mom is reading it and she finds it really interesting. So some other perspectives on it as well. But yeah, I really liked it. And the next book I read was Das Zeitalter der Drachen by Manien. Manien is my favorite author if you're new here. If you're not new here, you might have heard me talk about her a lot because I love her with all my heart. This woman is just fantastic, amazing, brilliant. Mwah. I just really love her. This is her latest book and I actually started reading it on Christmas. It's kind of a tradition for myself to always read a Manien book on Christmas and like during the holidays, because I enjoy really taking the time to get into her books. She writes like epic fantasy with her own worlds and like these huge setups and multiple characters, so I really like to take the time that I have during the holidays to just really focus on it. It took me a little bit longer to read this one because it feels different than her other books. And I actually think I'd really like to read it again soon, which I normally don't do. Normally her books stick with me so much that I can't read them again as soon, because I remember everything so vividly. But because this book felt so different and it had like a very prominent like philosophical tone to it, and also a lot of like, not really flashbacks, but basically the entire book is memories, and I found that really interesting, and I think I didn't really get everything that's there. I really enjoyed it. It's really interesting to read, and yeah, obviously her writing style is fantastic. She writes sentences that blow my mind, and she does it like every single page. I don't know how she does it. She has also announced that this will be her last fantasy book for a while, which is really sad. I love her fantasy, but I also know that she has written crime and like normal novels before, and I think she's going more in that direction now. So I'm really interested to see what she's gonna do and how she's gonna approach those new styles. But yeah, I just really love this book. Then I read another non-fiction book. This one was an arc from work. It's called Warum Meerschweinchen das Klima retten by Drexel. It's a German book. It's about the climate crisis and how we, as each individual, wow, that's a difficult word, each individual person can affect the climate crisis and what we can do. And I found it helpful in the sense that it's structured in different parts. So you have like food and transportation and clothing and like home and isolation of the house and that kind of stuff. You have these different parts, and at the end of each part you have like a quiz where you can cross off like where you stand and how much energy you are using and how much of a carbon footprint you have. And I found that really interesting and helpful to kind of see where you are and then also get some specific advice on how you can get better. So that part was really interesting and helpful and also like really practical, which I enjoy in those kinds of books that want to help. I really like it when they are really practical. However, the rest of the chapters weren't really helpful, like at all, and kind of made me mad because they always felt like they came from someone who's never lived a normal life. I don't really know how to explain it, but they felt so privileged. A lot of the advice was just spend more money on things that will eventually be less bad for the climate. And I'm like, okay, yeah, I understand that, but first of all, I cannot build my own house and isolate it probably. I don't have that kind of money, and like I'm young, I'm not about to build my own house. So it's like unrealistic. And also like a lot of the times it was like, yeah, it's gonna be like 6 times as pricey, but it'll pay off in the end. And I'm like, yeah, okay, maybe it'll pay off in the end, but I don't have the money to pay 6 times the price. And it never was discussed that maybe some people don't have the opportunity to do that and to pay that money. And also things like, just move closer to work. Okay, maybe you can't move into the city to go closer to work, so you don't have to go by car. Some people just don't have those opportunities and those privileges. And it really felt like really ignorant in the kind of advice they were giving. And it really pissed me off. To be completely honest, it really pissed me off. It was one of those books where I made notes in the margins, and now my friend from work is also reading it. And I made some notes where I was like, this pisses me off, or this feels like really privileged, what do you think? So I'm interested to see when she reads it, if she feels the same way, because there were so many parts where I just thought like, this isn't realistic for a normal human being. Like maybe if you have all the money and all the privilege and all the chances, then yeah, you can do this. But let's be real, not everyone does, and it just, I keep making the same point, I know this, I should move on, but it was so frustrating. I then read a manga, which is One Room Angel by Harada, or Harada, I think it's Harada. And it's like this bigger one that is also kind of bigger for like a manga. It's a really interesting story that's kind of to do with like faith and death. So our main character is in his 30s and he's kind of bummed because his life isn't working out. He has like this tiny apartment and no money and a bad job, and he has some like gang stuff in his past, and he has a bad relationship with his family. So life isn't really working out for him. And then he gets into a fight and gets stabbed, and he thinks he's gonna die. And in the last moment he sees an angel falling from the sky, and then he does survive. And when he gets back to his tiny apartment, that angel is waiting for him. So it's really interesting, the kind of dynamic between them and the things they talk about, and how they're like, okay, are angels real? Like, is there purpose to my life? Why are you here? Is there something I have to do? Is my life worth more than I thought it was? So it's really interesting, it's so philosophical, but also in like a really down-to-earth way. It felt real, all the conversations felt real. They were talking about simple things like, I don't want to turn off the heating because that costs money, or things like, this food makes me happy, and that kind of stuff. So it was really down to earth and not like super philosophical, but because of that it felt more philosophical, because it's the kind of thing and the kind of thinking that I can relate to, and that really feels like, yeah, I do this in my own life. Like I have moments where I think, okay, maybe my life isn't worth anything, and then I think, well, but there's those like small things, and there are those people that I affect and that affect me, so maybe I am worth something. And it really moved me. It's a beautiful story. It's also really sad, obviously, because it does deal with death, and with sadness, and like not really depression, but close to it. So yeah, really, really emotional, but in a hopeful sense. Then I also read another manga, which is I Hear the Sunspot Limit 3. I'm gonna get out the other ones. They're right here. So these are Limit 1 and Limit 2. And I really, really love this series, but I struggled so much to pick up the third part because it's so big. Part of the reason why I love manga is because they are short and they are quick to read. And I don't like big books. And the third part is like at least 2 manga, maybe 3. It's so heavy, it's so chunky. And I put it off for a long time, and then I gave it to a friend who's bought the rest of the series from me as well. And she wanted to read the final part, so I gave it to her. And she was really impressed, so that motivated me to finally also read it. And it was so good. I sat down and just one evening read the entire thing. And then I also gave it to another friend who's been borrowing the entire series from me and been waiting for me to finally finish it so that he could read it. So yeah, it's a really, really great series. I Hear the Sunspot is about 2 boys, and one of them has hearing issues. He's not completely deaf, but he's getting there. It's getting like worse. And the entire series is just so gentle and caring, and it just really feels like the author put in the work to show you not only what it's like for deaf people and for people with hearing issues and hearing aids and what life feels like for them, and important with that, not only focusing on the deaf part, but also focusing on like relationships and work and their hobbies and all of that stuff, like the entire life. But then also because the other boy in the relationship and some of the other side characters don't have any hearing issues, how that works in the relationship, and also how it affects them to have someone with hearing issues in their lives and what that does to them and how they see it and how they want to help but also don't really understand it. It's really, really well done, and there's so much information there and so much empathy. And as I said, it doesn't only focus on that part, it also focuses on the relationships and the lives, and it really feels just complete and it feels complex, and I really, really love it. The characters are so well done, there's so many different perspectives, and I'm really glad that I finally got to the final part, and I'm definitely going to reread this one a few times because I really, really enjoyed it. And the last book I read in January is Monster of the Couch by Jenny Jägerfeld and Mats Strandberg. This is a translation from the, Swedish, I think? I don't have the book with me, sorry. It was also an ARC I got from work, and I'm so happy that I did. I actually heard about it a few months ago at a meeting with the publishers, and when the publisher told me about this book, I was immediately like, yeah, I need that. I need that. It's kind of like a fantasy crime detective story. It's kind of weird because it doesn't really fit into one genre, but it's really interesting. Basically, you have this therapist who's gone missing, and we start the book with a letter from her wife to the police saying, like, my wife's been missing for like a month now, and I need you to step up the investigation because I don't think she just like left me. I think something happened, and I found all of these folders and notes in her therapist office of her sessions with patients, and then you get the folders with the patients and the patients are like Frankenstein and Jekyll and Hyde and Dorian Gray and Camilla the Vampire, and you get all of those like informations and notes and transcripts, and it's so well done. It's also like really beautifully made. It really looks like her folders and her notes, and like there's parts of psychology books where she then made little handwritten notes about which part of that fits to each of her patients. And it's really, really well done. It's so beautiful. Obviously, I personally love the story of Frankenstein, and it was so nice. It was so well done. She really adapted the classic stories really well into this modern setting and worked really well with the characters. It really worked, and it made a lot of fun to read it. I did feel like the detective case or the crime case was a little bit unsatisfying. I don't know, it kind of felt like she had this story of the therapist and then she needed something to wrap it into, and she could have just not done that, in my opinion. She could have just given us those folders of those therapy sessions. I don't think we needed the missing wife story around it, because it didn't really work, in my opinion, and it kind of distracted from what I really was interested in. But yeah, the main plot and the main part, all of those therapy sessions with those monsters were just really fun and really interesting and really well done and really pretty, and I really, really loved this book. It's definitely one of my favorites of the year, which is nice to have a new favorite in January. And yeah, I'm really excited for it to actually come out. As I said, it's an arc. I'm really excited for it to come out and to recommend to all of my customers. And finally, the book I'm currently reading is Mercury and Me by Jim Hutton, which is a biography of Freddie Mercury written by his longtime partner Jim Hutton. I'm only like a little bit into it, but there's also like pictures of the two which are really sweet, and it's just a nice new perspective on this life of a person I just really admire, and it's nice to see this like personal side, and just a lot of things I didn't know about him. So that's what I'm reading right now. And there we go, those are all the books I read in the month of January. I had a really nice reading month. I think I liked every single book I read except for the climate crisis one, but even that wasn't like terrible. So yeah, I had a really nice reading month. I'm also really looking forward to the reading month of February. I have some nice romance novels and like, yeah, just love stories for the month with Valentine's Day. And I'm really excited for those. And yeah, let me know if you've read any of the books I talked about, or if you have any recommendations for me. As I said, I'll leave all the titles in the description down below if you want to check them out. I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you always have a reason to smile, and I shall see you soon. Bye!